perfect timing because we're just going to get started. Just introducing Katie to come and talk to you guys, and she's going to give you a great background on her job as a counselor. She specializes in families and children, and she, make sure to ask questions and all that fun stuff.
Did any of you guys meet me last year when I was here?
She spoke to the Alpha group last year, maybe Lily.
Okay. So like Becky said, my name is Katie, or maybe we should call you Miss Lynn.
Oh, totally fine.
I'm here because they asked me to talk about my job as a child and family therapist. Why don't you guys tell me your names and why you chose to be here today? Let's start with you.
I'm Ashlyn Mag. I'm here because I'm a child.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Leah.
Okay.
My name is Tazika.
Same thing.
Lily, same as
Uh-huh.
and I wanted to experience it.
Okay.
Denari and
You just want to play with Play-Doh, right?
yeah.
Karen. Megan, and because like I'm like thinking about moving into like counseling.
Okay. And what's your name? Jordan. And Jordan, what's your interest in being here today?
I want to be a counselor.
Okay. So I'm going to try not to ramble too much, but the thing with my job is it's so broad and there's so many things to talk about that it's hard not to. So if I talk too fast, just yell at me to slow down. Before we get started, let me just tell you how I got into what I do. I'm technically a social worker. I don't really like to identify as a social worker because they have really bad reputations. Nobody really likes them, right? DHS, that kind of thing. I actually work on the other side of things. When I started college, I wanted to be that person who came in and rescued children who weren't taken care of very well and putting them into better homes. And the more I studied and the farther I got in my degree, I realized I wanted to be on the other end of things, of helping families stay together. And that's what I do every day now. Another thing that has changed for me is when I started as a social worker, I thought I was going to change the world. And I do really good work, and I love what I do, but you realize that if you can just make one small difference in somebody's life in a way that they want you to, that's better than anything that I can explain to you. So yeah, my degree is in social work, both my bachelor's and my master's. So that's how I got into the field that I'm in. You can go to the next one. So you guys know what a Venn diagram is, right? I really like to use a Venn diagram to kind of depict what I do because mental health is something that sometimes we're born with. For example, sometimes we're a little bit more irritable. Sometimes we're born more angry than other people. Things can get to us more. Sometimes we worry more than other people just because that's the way we were born. But then sometimes there's things that are going on in our lives that cause us to have those problems, whether they cause us to be depressed or have behavior problems. Anything like that. And then sometimes we're in the middle where, yes, we were born maybe a little bit more angry or depressed or nervous than your average Joe, but then we also have things happening in our lives that are really amplifying that. So those are the children and families that I see. But the thing with kids, they can't communicate the way adults can. You guys are a little bit older. You're getting to that point where you're getting better about understanding your feelings and being able to share them with the people in your life. I generally work with about 8 or 9-year-olds. My youngest is 2, and then I have a few adults too. But I would say the majority of my caseload is around that 8 or 9. So lots of times they're having these problems or these behaviors that parents are seeing, and they just don't understand what's going on, and the kid doesn't understand either. But they can't tell me that. So we use play, because that's how kids communicate, is through play. So my job is to work with a kid, first to get them to like me, basically, and trust me. They're not going to want to come see me unless they like me. So that's my first job, is to get them to feel comfortable with me. And then usually within a few weeks, I kind of have an idea of what's going on that's causing this kid to have, whether it's a behavior problem or anxiety, literally anything. And then we keep going in that direction, keep using play to help kids kind of find that answer within themselves to solve that problem. I also use a very family-based approach. The more I can get parents involved, the better. I like to compare it to like a baby mobile. If you guys know what that is, right? Love crib. If the child is one of those things, if I want the child to change, then everybody changes when we move that child, right? Because if you pull on that one piece, they're all gonna move. So I like to work with the family as much as possible, using play, because not only is that kids' language, but even adults can express themselves better. And if we, like I said, if we get time, we'll do that game. Because sometimes it's hard to find the words, but if you make things fun, they can be easier to talk about. So you can go to the next one. I looked through my caseload. I have maybe like 30, 35 clients right now. I tried to compile a list of the most common problems that people come to me for. Adjustments are huge. Moving is hard. Divorce is hard. I have one client who, her mom's out now, but both of her parents were in prison for a while. When somebody dies, those are all really hard, right? And it can be hard for anybody to get through that alone. So I have a lot of kids and families who come to me for that. I have a lot of kids who've been traumatized, whether they were abused or neglected, whether they witnessed somebody get hurt. That can be very hard to deal with on your own. I have some kids, this is usually your age, the peer problems. It's a hard time, right? I remember being your guys' age. It's hard. I have a lot of kids who come to me, they just want someone to talk to about how hard it is to get through a regular school day with school, relationship problems, problems with your friends, problems at home with your parents. I just listen. That's a huge part of my job, is just listening. Helping clients, feel heard and that somebody cares. I have a lot of kids whose parents are divorced. Some parents are really great at raising their kids apart, and then some parents are not so great. And I have kids who literally feel torn down the middle. I've seen them act two completely different ways depending on who brings them to their session, and that's a problem. One little girl in particular, she's very, very anxious because her stepmom is to her mommy, but when mom picks her up, I see her, like, she can't call stepmom mommy anymore because she'll get in trouble for that. Wouldn't that suck? Wouldn't that be really hard? So I'm working with them on that. I'm trying to get on the same page for her. I have kids, I have 2 little girls who were adopted by their grandparents. They're like 2 and 4. They don't understand my mom's not there anymore. They don't get it. So we use play to try to work through that. Move on. ADHD, depression, anxiety, you guys pretty much, I'm guessing you're familiar with those things. Drug and alcohol use. I have one mom, lost her little boy because of drug use, and she's clean and sober now, and just working on, with me, figuring out why she was using drugs in the first place, what kind of feelings that were really painful for her that she was numbing with the drugs, trying to solve those so that she doesn't go back to the drugs. And she's an adult, so we talk. We sit there and talk. I have a couple couples with relationship problems, and we do a lot of talking, but no matter how old or young you are, I try to make things as fun as possible. I try to use very hands-on, play-based things, even with my adults. Go on. Do you guys know what autism is? Yeah. I have a couple kids on the autism spectrum. We do a lot of skills stuff with them, just teaching them basic skills for communicating with other people, because what's obvious for me, abilities I was born with, a lot of my kids on the autism spectrum, they don't get it. So somebody just needs to teach them. And once they learn those basic daily skills of life, they can use them, but they just don't have them naturally. Which isn't a good or bad thing, it's just the way it is. We all are just the way we are. A lot of behavior problems that should probably be at the top of the list. That's what I see most of my kids for. But the thing is, a lot of parents bring a kid in because they're like, here, they're oppositional, they're defiant, they don't listen, they're bouncing off the walls hyper. But lots of times, even though that's what they're brought in for, that's just a symptom of something else that's going on. A behavior problem is usually a symptom of some kind of other bigger problem in their life. Like I said, whether they were born with developmental delays, whether they were born just kind of hard to get along with naturally, they're just irritable and anxious. Sometimes there's bigger problems going on at home, and that can be really hard for parents to share with me because they just met me, right? So would you guys open up your deepest, darkest secrets to me probably the first time you met me? Probably not, maybe over time. And like I said, that's why it's so important for me to get families to trust me. Because sometimes there's things going on at home that are really hard on a kid. Hard for anybody to deal with, much less a little kid, right? And I gave you some examples of those earlier. And like I said, sometimes both or something else. And that's just a short list of some of the reasons I see kids and their families. every call I get is different. No kid is the same. Every day is different, and that's what makes my job awesome. It's really hard, but every day is different, and I'm doing different things every day. I'm literally playing every day. And I don't want to make it seem like all giggles, but my job is really fun, even though it can be really hard to hear people's stories and what they've been through and to kind of hold some of that for them. At the end of the day, it's always different and it's a lot of fun. So I included some pictures in my office showing you guys what kinds of play. One of my favorite things to do is find games, especially your typical ones like Battleship, Candyland, Don't Break the Ice, literally anything that anybody knows how to play, and we change them up a little bit. For example, my Don't Break the Ice, I have like little colors on the bottom of each one, and when you knock that particular block down, you pick it up and then say it's green. Well, green might associate with answering a certain question. And that makes it a lot easier for kids to open up to me and talk to me when there's some kind of structure to it and when it's playful. Moving on. Lots of arts and crafts. It can be a lot easier to express yourself through art and crafts than words sometimes. My sand tray is one of my favorite things in my office. The sand tray represents a world. Kids come in and sometimes I'll say, why don't you build me a world in the sand today? Sand tray is really hard to explain, but I'm going to try to do my best. Like I said, it represents a world, which is usually the world that's going on inside the child. And if you go to my next slide, you can see I have tons and tons of miniatures. On the left top there, it's hard to see, I know, but lots of like fantasy items, like witches and wizards and skeletons, you know, scary things. I have war vehicles, rescue vehicles, animals, people, dragons, dinosaurs, natural items like the volcano and the trees, seashells, bridges, fences. It's just as many things as I can find. There's religious stuff in the top right. Excuse me. And the kids use those to build a world. I included some examples. This is one girl who came to me because her sister was leaving for college and because she was having some problems at school. She was about your guys' age. If you can see this little Barbie figure in the vehicle, that represented her sister leaving for college, which made her really, really, really sad. Next to her, you see the roof with the spider underneath it. She's terrified of her house. That caused her a lot of anxiety, and she would just uncontrollably cry out of nowhere. Next to that, you see the ambulance. Her mom got in a car accident. She was really worried about that happening again. Behind that, you see that green thing that represents a movie, and her family's on the other side watching a movie, but her brothers oftentimes pick scary movies that she doesn't like to watch because she's already scared at home alone. So I remember for her that day, it was one of her first times meeting, I said, why don't you build me a world, no right or wrong way to do it, and you know, the world you live in, the world you want to live in, the perfect world, the scariest world. She's like, that's what I want to do, the scariest world. And so this was a great opportunity for her to share with someone, this is how I feel every single day, because she had a really hard time putting that into words. My next one, I still don't know what to make of this, and that's okay. You don't always know the answer. That's totally okay, because I'm a human being too, and sometimes you have to share with families, I don't know, but I'll work with you to help figure this out. This kid was on the autism spectrum. My best guess is that I think this is just how overwhelmed he feels on a day-to-day basis with the world around him, because I think sounds, sights, smells, I think everything is just amplified for him, because you see that a lot on the autism spectrum. And I think this is just how overwhelmed he feels every single day with everything that's going on around him. Things that might be, you or I might not even notice, I think is just so much for him. So yeah, he literally had every single miniature that I own in the sand tray, and once he ran out of room, he put it on the floor. Next one. I don't know about you guys, but this looks really lonely to me. This was a girl who, how much time do we have, by the way?
Ooh, we have about 11 minutes left.
This was a girl who was adopted by her biological aunt. Her biological mother severely neglected her, and we'll probably never really know what those first couple of years of life entailed for her, but we do know, in a general sense, just lots of neglect. So obviously, when you don't have a parent there hugging you or kissing you or cooing at you, making silly faces at you, feeding you when you needed it, comforting you when you were upset, as a baby, when you don't have that as a baby, as you get older, are you going to understand how to develop an attachment with anybody? No. So when I asked her to show me her family, that's what she did. And to me that looks very, very lonely. And that's, it's really sad. So that's her on the right, the little one, and that's her aunt next to her, who raises her. The aunt's kind of boyfriend next to her, and then this was a couple years ago. I think Flounder is a pet they had. But yeah, she's very lonely. Probably one of the most severe cases I can ever remember having at this point. She would just destroy things. She would destroy the home. And even though that was the reason why Mom brought her in, the bigger problem is how much hurt she was feeling inside. That her aggression and everything, that's a problem, but that's a symptom of everything else that's going on inside of her. Moving on. This was a client, she was about 17, but she, I don't mean to rain on your guys' parade today, but she was also so severely abused and neglected as a child that even though she's 17, I would say she's more like 11, 12. So we did a lot of Santrays, a lot of nonverbal things to help her work through her problems. I was the one who put the Lincoln Logs down the middle. I divided it. I said, show me your childhood over here, and show me current life on the left-hand side there. You can see the tiny itty-bitty soldier on the right-hand side. You guys see that? That was her. And then those are all her dad's friends in the middle. And then the biggest soldier is her dad. So you can see how victimized she was, how scary life was for her to have all those big men against you, right? And then what's interesting, or maybe really sad I should say, is on the left-hand side, she is the big bad soldier. And those are all her pets. She wasn't very nice to her pets. She would take things out on them, which is basically a learned behavior because that's how she was treated. So that's how she is in her life now. So that's what we were working on. That makes sense, right? If you're treated that way, that's what you're going to do, right? So that was our work. What we worked on was understanding that that wasn't okay. And that's not okay now either. So that's what we were trying to work on. Moving on. This one's a little bit crooked, but I'm going to try to show you. It's like a smiley face. On the left-hand side, those are the eyes. And then the other miniatures, like the dolls, are a sad face. Can you guys see that? Those are all her family members, and this is actually the same girl who did the first one with her sister leaving for college. She was really sad about her sister leaving still, and those mirrors represent how everywhere she looks, she's reminded of how sad she is about her sister leaving for college. She also included in that top right-hand corner things that represented special times that they would have together, so she was able to express herself using that Santray. On. I also included a picture of my little couch area where I'll sit and talk with my older clients, so do a lot of talking too. Do you guys have any questions at this point? I just threw so much information at you. Nothing at all? Okay, so I think if you go to the next one, yeah. We have like 6 minutes maybe?
Yes, about
Okay.
7, yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to take volunteers because I'm not going to make anybody do this. This is one of my favorite games. It's called Play-Doh Pound. And this is what I might do when I first meet someone or when we're still working together in the middle of our work. This is a game that helps you find words to express your feelings. So this is maybe like a middle-aged game. Somebody who still benefits from having the play-based approach, but who is getting better about using their words too, because it does involve talking. It's going to help you identify your feelings. Also, while you're talking about some of those tough feelings, it's nice to have the Play-Doh in your hand, something to kind of soothe yourself, give something to do, like a fidget toy. And it allows family members to relate to each other, because how this goes is, like, do you want to start, pick a color that you can identify with and a feeling. Like, which one of these, pick a feeling and a color you would associate that with. Red? I had a feeling you were going to pick red. What's red for you?
Anger.
I knew it. That's a very common one. So take the red Play-Doh out, and while you're holding it in your hands and kind of just moving it around, I want you to say, got it? Red is anger, and a kid might feel angry when, and then you'll pass it on to whoever wants to play. We'll go all around the room with anger.
Red is anger and a kid might feel anger when people are constantly telling him what to do and he's confused, he has no idea what else to do, and people are getting angry at him, so he gets angry back.
Okay. Pass it on, and you can pass. You don't have to participate.
A kid might feel angry when their parents have a divorce and the parents are urging them to choose which side.
A kid could be angry when they know what should be happening and it's not happening.
A kid can be angry when people are not treating him the way that he wants to be treated.
A kid can be angry
Kid might be angry when they feel like no one is there.
A kid might be angry when they're just like having a bad day and there's so many things that just keep going wrong for them.
A kid might be angry when they're stressed. A kid can be angry when they're constantly being told they're doing something wrong.
A kid might be angry when maybe they're on the playground and no one wants to be with them.
Okay. So now, if we have time, we'll just go until, was it the bell gonna ring or something?
Yes, oh yeah, in about 4 minutes.
Okay, so now I want you to say a parent might be angry when, and we'll go around doing that. And just in case we run out of time, I want to say real quick, this was something I did with a mother and daughter, and they went through each color, passing it back and forth, first starting with, like the kid would say a kid might feel angry when, and then the mom would say a kid might feel angry when, and then they took turns putting themselves in the other person's shoes, not necessarily their mom's shoes or their daughter's shoes, but it's very vague, right? A kid might feel angry when. So it's not anyone pointing any fingers or blaming at anyone, it's just giving an opportunity to get some of those feelings out there, relate to each other, and in that probably 30-minute session, that mother and daughter communicated more about how they're feeling and related to each other about how the other person might be feeling, probably more than they had in years. And even though there was times in the session where I could tell that they were getting upset and angry about maybe what the other person was saying, or just being angry about getting some of those feelings out of themselves in general. Sometimes that's what needs to happen. So like I said, a parent might feel angry when
A parent might feel angry when they can't understand their child the way somebody else can.
A parent might be angry when that child finally chooses a side and it's not them.
A parent might get angry when one parent isn't doing what they should be doing.
Parent might be angry when the kid's not listening or the way they want to.
A parent might feel angry
parent might feel angry when their child is
A parent might feel angry when they feel like they're the only person like trying to do stuff like around the house or like just like carrying the family on their back.
A parent might feel angry when they feel they can't get through to their children.
A parent might feel angry when they feel like they can't talk to their child.
Good, guys. In the last couple seconds that we have here, does anyone just want to volunteer about what it was like to participate in that short exercise? Okay.
It kind of helped me figure out things that are going on inside of my head. It helped me,
Okay, real quick, what were you going to say?
What were you gonna say, Ben? Just so you guys know too, I have some sand tray stuff in my office if you ever want to check it out and just even run your hands through sand and anything like that. And then also if you're wanting a brochure with Katie's information too, I actually have some here, and these are, for students I would typically refer, but anything you want to look at from stuff they have there.
And I have more too. I can
Yes.
mail them.
Awesome.
I only brought a few, so.
No, totally
You
fine.
have enough?
Yes, I think so. Thanks, you guys. Can you give her a hand real quick? Yay!
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.